This video is sponsored by Insta360. So 360 video is still one of the coolest types of video that exists. It's a form that still feels like too good to be true. Thanks to companies like Insta360, this insane footage is not only real, it's actually super easy to get. But before I tell you all about it, let me thank you guys for supporting the channel all these years. It's a way that I love to give back. You guys have a chance to win $500. Just leave a comment down below. Tell me the first thing you would film with your brand new Insta360 camera. Tell me a fact about yourself, a joke, whatever it might be. Just make sure there's a way to contact you, either in your comment or on your YouTube page. Give you a thumbs up, let it run for 10 days, open to anyone in the world. All right, so I've used a bunch of Insta360 cameras in the past, but I've not checked out their latest stuff, and they've made big changes to their flagship camera, the Insta360 X4. The X4 is the first 360 camera that these allegedly works for everyone. And it's supposed to be for content creators, adventurers, and filmmakers. This is supposed to be the one camera for everybody. So the most important part with 360 camera has gotta be image quality. So in the past, we've been messing around with 360 cameras for years. I think 8 years ago, I took a Ricoh 360 camera out to CES with me. We've always had to make sacrifices to image quality because of how this 360 generally works. That's not the case here. So the X4 can output 8K at 30 FPS. Not only that, it's also using H.265. If you don't know what that means, broadly what that means is that you get that 8K quality, but in the same size that you had, file size of last generation's camera that had a lower resolution. So it's about 78% more pixels than the 5.7K that came before it, which is a ton. I think the big question that a lot of people have when you hear 8K is why? I don't have anything that can show an 8K image. Well, normal cameras, that's a pretty valid point. But 360 though, it's entirely different. With 8K, you're getting a ton of resolution. That's gonna be awesome for 360 and sort of moving around, but you wanna use it as a single lens camera. There are huge advantages here. So when you export with the 8K, you'll get around sort of 3K resolution, which is giant compared to previous 5.7K cameras. You're only gonna get around 1080p. That also means you can choose what field of view you want, and you can sort of infinitely adjust after the fact. So in the app or studio software you're using for editing, there's a new mega view mode that has less distortion on the edges, so it looks even better. Like I mentioned, you can choose other sort of FOVs like 9.16 for social, 16.9 for YouTube, or even 2.35.1 for kind of that more cinematic look. 8K is obviously all about the resolution, but sort of one of the coolest things about it is you can sort of add zoom if you want to zoom in on something and still have the resolution to do it, where sort of previous 360 camera models gave you sort of incredibly pixelated image if you zoomed in even a little bit. So having 8K unlocks a ton of possibilities that just sort of didn't look all that great before. It's kind of similar to having more megapixels in a camera, right? Not always that useful, but if you want to blow up an image, you want to have that extra resolution. And as somebody who's messed with a lot of 360 cameras, that was always the Achilles heel. It was always why they didn't work. You couldn't get the shot or the angle that you wanted because you would sort of zoom in on it and it looked like blurry garbage. Insta360 with the X4 has fixed that. So to shoot 360, you've got two lenses on each side of the body, but you can actually use just one at a time if you want. Kind of to use it like a more traditional action camera. But I think what's the best part about that, you can switch it and hold it. And so you can shoot for incredible selfies if that's what you're looking to do. And it's gonna give you 4K 60 FPS recording no matter which sensor you're using. So if you're in this situation that doesn't need 360, which is not always what you want all the time, like the camera's mounted to your chest, for example, it's a great way to get the footage you need. It's still going to give you an insane 170-degree field of view. Or if you want to sort of record and make sure that you're always in frame, there's a me mode built in. And this is actually really useful. It's gonna track you continuously, keep you in frame without needing software after the fact. That can work at 120 frames per second. So me mode is gonna automatically reframe a 360 video in camera and remove the selfie stick. Essentially, it's kind of like using a normal camera, giving you the benefit of using a 360 camera for erasing that sort of big stick in your hand. It's kind of perfect for vlogging when sort of you want to make sure that you are the single subject in frame. So I mentioned it real briefly, but the way that all this works is mostly software. So the company is using AI, obviously, you hear that all the time, to the fullest here, but it's what enables things like the me mode I just talked about. And that is just the surface here. So it obviously has Insta360 is, I think, really excellent and tried and true flow state stabilization built in. Makes your image incredibly stable, know what you are doing, like gimbal level stable. It also has 360-degree horizon lock. It'll keep your horizon level no matter where you point the camera at. On the AI side, a simple way to show off the software is with the invisible selfie stick. So this is going to eliminate the selfie stick that you are using, kind of give you some incredible third-person viewpoint that makes it look like the camera is floating in the air next to you. And this feature has been included in these cameras since, like, I think the beginning, but it hasn't gotten old, at least to me. If you attach a super long selfie stick that we've got here, it is a 10-foot version. It's like you've got a drone flying in the air. It is insanely fun. Insta360 is also using AI to help during the filming process. So with the X4, there's now AI gesture control. It's use your hand to start and stop recording or take a picture. This is awesome when like the camera is mounted somewhere far away, or if you're using it in a group setting, or if you're doing kind of action sports or wearing gloves, you can control the camera without taking off said gloves. Aside from controlling the camera, there's a ton of features that help you sort of get those impossible shots. So built into the camera, I know this has been around, but it's still nuts to see, is a bullet time feature. Lets you spin the camera around and get this insanely cool shot. And this works up to 5.7K, 128 frames per second. So it is a really like unique look. It's also like 11K time lapse and 8K time shift built in. As time lapse lets you get insane 360-degree view from a stationary position, and the time shift lets you get super smooth moving time lapses. Also, you can offload the footage into a mobile or desktop app if you want. And I think one of the concerns with 360 cameras, some of the ones that I ran into, is that editing the footage is like, you need an advanced degree to do it. So Insta360 was trying to make this easy, kind of take out that big pain point. So the first way is with AI edit. If you don't want to think about anything, let the AI just do it for you. It's going to recommend an edit. You just need to choose what the AI recommends and the video is ready to go. It's like that easy. But if you want to take like the next step, probably most people will, you can use quick edit. It lets you reframe with a really few different options. You can use like a touch screen to swipe around and select points. You can move your phone around in 3D space, which is really kind of cool to see the footage change. It's also a new virtual joystick, lets you kind of move the footage around too. Probably my preferred method, especially if there's a person in the footage, is to use Deep Track 3.0. Let's let you select the subject, have the algorithm track and reframe it for you. And it does exactly that. So if you're filming a person using Insta360 X4 and I go back to edit, I can just tap that person and no matter where I am or where we move, it's gonna keep them in frame. And if you want to kind of go even further, you can use a desktop app and give you kind of ultimate manual control over your video. This is what we use for like these kind of videos I've been showing throughout here. Lets you manually keyframe and edit the video. And also most important for us, we can export high resolution and high bit rates so we get the best quality possible. So great image quality and great software is already a ton of sort of new things for the last generation, but there's like still more we discovered as we continue testing. So at first glance, the X4 looks, say, very similar to the X3, but if you look closer, there's a lot of tweaks there that kind of make the hardware a ton better. So the biggest feature that I like seeing is new removable lens guards. So before you had just bare naked lens out in the open, that was a recipe for disaster. Scratch a lens, 360 effect is rendered pretty much useless. So having these guards that come standard in the box is a gigantic benefit here. If you inevitably scratch a lens, you can just take this off and replace it. It's like a screen protector for your lenses. There's also now a larger 2.5-inch touchscreen, which is up from the about 2.29 inches that was there before. And with this, you can control all different modes and features and see what you're recording. With 360 degrees, having a large screen is obviously pretty important. You might also see that this camera is a bit like it's chunkier than before, and that means there's a bigger battery inside. It's now got a 2290 mAh battery. It's gonna give you 135 minutes of recording, which, my math, is about 67% more than last generation. And battery life of 360 cameras is, much like drones, not been their strong point in the past. Insta360 also included other nice features like high-speed USB 3.0, faster 30 megabits per second Wi-Fi for 58% faster transfer speeds. So they touch pretty much every part of the camera hardware, and it makes for a really, really noticeable difference. And listen, 360 cameras are not for everybody. But what I think is for anybody who wants to create content is a really good action camera. This gives you an incredible action camera for shooting yourself, for shooting out in the world, And you get the ability to shoot 8K 360 video. It is kind of the one camera with modular functionality that can do absolutely everything. And having a camera that can do this, especially for a social site, the difference between a video with like 50,000 views to 1 million or a couple 100,000 views. Being able to always get the shot and always have the shot. This is what makes Insta360 X4, at least to me, I think really cool. The first 25 people who use the link down below will get a free extended selfie stick, which otherwise would cost you $100, so killer deal. If you want to check it out or learn more, all links you need though will be down below.